So today I'm discussing the power zoom lens scarcity issue on Sony email. I'll be covering current options on the market and speculate as to what could be on the horizon. So with all that out of the way, let's get started. So the FX lineup is clearly spec'd out for servo zoom functionality, be it the hand rocker on the top handles of the FX6 and the FX9, or the side grips, or even the small servo switch on the FX3. This is a clear indication Sony intends these cameras at some point to be used with power zoom lenses. However, you may not necessarily infer that based on the current power zoom offerings. So let's go through which Sony power zooms are available on the market today. The 16-35 f4 power zoom was released in 2022. The image quality is expectedly very sharp, and it's a solid addition to the series. However, there is no IBIS on the lens, and the application of the focal length is extraordinarily limited. The lens could address the needs for someone looking for a wide lens, for a gimbal situation, or even for vlogging. It could be very useful. Although I would argue for vlogging, the 20mm f1.8 is much better for that, especially if you wish to achieve the blurry background. There's also the much more expensive 16-35 t3.1 Cine power zoom released in 2020. Although from what I gather, it is a rehoused 16-35 f2.8 stills lens essentially. And there is no stabilization on this lens either. So it's fair to say Sony has definitely covered a lot of ground in the 16-35mm power zoom market. Where it gets tricky is when you want more than just wide coverage. Which brings me to the focus of the video and the final full-frame Sony power zoom lens. They don't make a lot of these. It is the decade-old 28-135 f4 power zoom. I've covered this lens before, so I will not belabor why I like this lens so much, but if you like, you can take a look at another video where I cover this lens more in depth, and I will put that in the description below. Now it's 2024 and we don't have a Mark II of this extraordinary power zoom. I know reception has been mixed among Sony users. Some say the 28-135 is too soft, especially when compared to its contemporaries, and some say the focal length isn't ideal either. I say both of these issues could be addressed and then some with the Mark II release. After all, it's been a decade. A decade where we've seen the 24-70 f2.8 and the 70-200 f2.8 G Master zooms have their Mark II releases, which in both cases were massive improvements from their Mark I iterations. As a matter of fact, the weight reductions were quite substantial on both those lenses, and the sharpness and overall image quality were greatly improved as well. So following that pattern, could Sony surprise us with a Mark II of the 28-135 power zoom in 2024? And what would that look like? What would it weigh like? As I analyze the weights of both aforementioned zooms, so the 24-70 f2.8 Mark II had a 21% weight reduction from its Mark I version. The 70-200 f2.8 Mark II had a 30% weight reduction from the Mark I. So these are pretty substantial weight reductions in both cases. And what I did is I averaged out the weight reductions from both, and following that trend, we would see a 25.5% weight reduction in the 28-135 power zoom, bringing it down from 2.68 pounds to a flat 2-pound payload. Now I should reiterate at this time, this is all purely conjecture and wishful thinking on my part, but just imagine for a moment a 2-pound 28-135mm power zoom on the end of your FX3 or FX6 or FX9 with improved image quality and sharpness and a much lighter weight. The applications will be virtually endless when you throw in clear image zoom, giving you a maximum 2-time crop. Add to the fact you could use Sony's zoom controller to really help finesse zoom speed, and I think you have the be-all end-all event videography lens. But hey, enough about what I want in a power zoom lens. What about you? Do you use power zoom lenses on your Sony camera? And if so, what is your dream lens? Leave it in the comments below. I want to hear about it. And as always, if you found this video helpful or insightful, give a big thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, comment below, let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next one.